And on today's show, how to select and retain ideal clients. Part 5 of this week's series, The Psychology of the Smart Advisor, with personal performance expert and money psychologist, Dr. Jack Singer. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician in Innsbruck. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 5, Dr.
Home
Jack.
stretch.
Wow, I gotta say, well, if you are coming into our show today, again, I just highly exhort you to go back to Monday, watch it in succession, get the good tutorial experience of the chronology, and I think you'll really appreciate this. If you're like I am, I want to perform, I want to achieve, but I also don't want to do it at the cost of my health,
That's right.
cost of my family, and I want to enjoy life and have an extended longevity like everybody's predicting we're going to have.
That's right.
We're talking again with Dr. Jack. He has his book, and it's out on Amazon.com as well as off his own website, The Financial Advisor's Ultimate Stress Mastery Guide. And many of the things we talk about this week is in this book, and we're going to take some passages right out of the book right now, Doc.
Right. Well, today we're going to talk about how to select and retain ideal clients. Now, why do I say that? I don't just mean ideal clients who will give you a lot of premium, or if you're in the investment business, will give you a lot of commissions. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about clients who are not going to subtract from your health. Even though they may be high-value clients, it may not be worth it because of the aggravation they cause. So I decided to devote a chapter in my book to this, and I call it How to Attract and Retain the Ideal Client. The attracting part is going to be the last segment, but the retaining part. Here are some examples of the kinds of personality types you do not want to keep in your practice if you want to stay healthy. First is the abusive or abrasive Allen, I call it. This is a person who's hostile, disrespectful, tries to put you down as if he or she is smarter than you, etc. The next one is the controlling Connie. These are people who need to control everything. I know a person, for example, who watches the market every day, watches every single one of her securities, and calls up her advisor anytime something dips, complaining. You do not need people like this in your practice. The Eddie Haskell, remember Leave It to Beaver?
I do, yeah.
Okay, the Eddie Haskell is a very manipulative person, smiling in your face and stabbing you in the back at the same time. As soon as your red flags go up, you've got to eliminate these people or avoid them. The gloom and doom Debbie. Doesn't matter what happens, their certificates can go up in value, their annuities can do great, it doesn't matter. But the first bad thing that happens, it's all doom and gloom, and that's all they think about. They need you to hold their hand through everything. The high maintenance Marty is another example of somebody who needs to be maintained in everything he does. But every day he'll be calling your office. The histrionic Harriet. Histrionic means very dramatic, self-absorbed, sometimes narcissistic, although I've got another one for narcissism. And these are people who, they'll embarrass you in front of other people. You could have a meeting at your office. They may start screaming at you in front of your staff. You do not need people like this in your life.
What did you call it? You said histrionic?
Histrionic.
Now, what is that root word from?
Histrionic comes from, I don't know whether it's Greek or whatever, but in psychology and psychiatry, histrionics means dramatic. It's like people you see in the movies and on stage are purposely paid to be dramatic, but some people are like this all the time.
Wow.
And in fact, if you meet actors and actresses frequently at parties, sometimes they're exactly the way they are. People say, these people are always on, and that's because they tend to be histrionic people. The narcissistic Ned. By the way, you've noticed I've alternated male and female
I see that.
names.
I just heard the pattern.
Yeah, the narcissistic Ned. Narcissism is a very abrasive kind of personality trait, because these are people who want everything to revolve around them and their needs. They couldn't care less about your needs. They have to show off in front of other people. They have to get praise in front of other people. They don't care what your office practice is or anything else. These are people to be avoided. The OCD Olivia. OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. These are people who are so fixated on every detail of what goes on in their portfolio and things like that, that you have to jump in and be as OCD as they are just to answer their questions. Is it really worth it to have that kind of a person? And then we have the type A Ted. We've already talked about type A's. And finally, wishy-washy Wanda. The wishy-washy Wanda is somebody who can't make her mind up or his mind up, and you will offer a couple of products. They will say, well, I don't know, tell me more. They will take up a tremendous amount of your time. They can't make their mind up what to do because they're afraid of making a mistake. All of these types are really pathological for your practice.
Your last one, it just caught me. You said the wishy-washy is afraid of making a mistake.
Right.
If I think the client does have a value, and I think I do want to play with them, but they just have this, let's call it a frailty, this idiosyncratic shortcoming, okay?
Yes.
Let's say that's true. Is there a way to help a client like that? Or no, that takes just too much time and I'm still probably not worth dealing with?
Well, it depends on their age. If they've been this way and they're already 65 or 70, it's probably unlikely they're going to change that. But you can try to work with them. You can say, you know, you have confidence in me, or here's a good one, if it's true. I don't want you to ever make things up, but if it's true, you can say, I purchased the exact same product for my family because I have the exact same concern that you do. That will help people make their mind up, because if they trust you enough to let you be their advisor, they're going to really want to resonate with what you do yourself rather than just trying to promote products for them.
When we get back from the break, we're going to talk about some of the active listening techniques of the smart advisor, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you can do to actively have them come maybe to your organization and be a conference speaker and learn some of the things we've been talking about. We'll be right back after the break. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to the second segment. Of course, we're with Dr. Jack Singer. We're talking about his book, The Financial Advisor's Ultimate Stress Mastery Guide. All this week we've been pulling gems out of this, and they're really great nuggets. It's right on Amazon.com, or if you want to go out to Dr. Jack's site, you can. Dr. Jack, of course, you're a conference speaker.
Yes.
You speak all over the place, and you're also a personal coach. Now, what I like about you is you actually have credentials. You know, most of the people out there pawning themselves, I don't want to be negative, but they say they're coaches and so forth, but really you have come from the professional sports world. You've been on ESPN, Fox News, Glenn Beck. You've been in different scenarios where you've been able to coach Olympic champions, world champions. So you're just taking what you've learned dealing with some of the highest end performers in the world, and transfer that over to us.
Absolutely.
And you're saying it's all transferable.
It's all transferable.
And that's what your book's about.
Absolutely. And I've decided to really get away from my private practice of sports psychology and just focus on my coaching with advisors.
Now, when we think about advisors, I'm thinking about some of the smart listening techniques. I think type A driver emotives tend not to be very good listeners.
That's right.
So how can I put the brakes on my own personality and get out of my way and become a good active listener?
Okay, well, there's the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure you never cut anybody off before they're finished. Type A people tend to finish people's sentences because they're impatient and they want to get on with it. They think they know what the person's going to say, so they're not really listening. But in doing what we call active listening, and I've written articles on it, it's in the book, you can look up the term active listening and you'll find the same things I'm going to tell you now. The first thing you have to do is you have to physically, let's say it's a prospective client and you're prospecting. The first thing you want to do is physically get on the same level. So the way Steve and I right now are on the same level, it's not one of us is standing and one is sitting. You have to physically be at the same level. And once you do that, you maintain good eye contact. And then you ask important questions that you've all been trained to ask. What is your big fear for the future? What is your concern? What are your goals? Have you thought about this? Would this be helpful? And then when they tell you what they're thinking, you don't respond to it. You paraphrase what they're saying in your own words. Because if we're type A, we don't tend to listen, and our paraphrase forces us to really listen to the meaning of what they're saying. So for example, if you're the client and I'm the advisor, I might say, so what I'm hearing you say, Steve, is that you're very concerned that you'll outlive your income and the money you've saved. And if that's the case, you'd say, yeah, that's exactly what I feel. Then I will respond to that saying, would you be interested in a product that'll guarantee that that won't happen, for example? But if I didn't listen in the first place, I may have been so focused on trying to sell you a product that I missed an important point somewhere. Or you could say, I understand that concern. A lot of people actually do that. They outlive, because they're living healthier, they outlive their money. And that's a pretty scary proposition. In fact, I've seen research done, to get off the subject a bit, with very wealthy women, and there's a huge percentage of them who still are afraid they'll become street people because they'll outlive their money, because they have no concept of what this is all about, mainly because their husband took charge of it while he was alive. And that's another whole issue, but there's a whole issue of there's a niche out there waiting for all advisors to deal properly with female clients, because they've been dealt improperly most of the time.
When you're looking at some of the techniques of listening and being concerned, and I'm just assuming, I guess maybe it's a false assumption, but I'm assuming that people really do want to help other people.
Yes.
And if I have genuine benevolency in my heart, I want to go and I want to hear what's important to that person. What is important?
Yes, you're right. Now, when we talk about sales, if that's the way you're looking at yourself as a salesperson, you're not listening so much. You're more interested in which product can I move this person into so that, there's a decent commission on it or premium or whatever. But if you're genuinely concerned about the other person, the sales will take care of themselves. So again, it's like the process versus the outcome. If you're focused on the process, listening to what they say, listening to what their concerns are, understanding their fears. Maybe I don't have an answer for their problem, but I'll get one for them. That's another thing in listening. You don't have to always have an answer. Say, that's a challenging question, but there is an answer. Give me a couple of days to look that up for you. I will find something that will satisfy that concern you have. I just don't have it on the top of my head. So genuine concern for the potential client is a critical point if in your pivot point of persuasion.
If somebody wanted to, as an advisor, say, Dr. Jack, I'd like to really learn some of these things. I have some things I'd like to correct in my life. I think you could be helpful. What I'm doing in a regular routine is a personal coaching. Does it have an end game? Is it an open-ended? How long does a normal turnaround?
I make a contract with people, and I like to do things short. Like, let's say we're going to have 5 sessions and have a goal for those 5 sessions. Then after those 5 sessions, if you want to make another goal and go through another sequence, you can. It's up to you. So my goal is to help people quickly understand where their frailties are and what to do about it, rather than a long-term lingering kind of thing. The other thing I do is I'm beginning to produce full-day workshops for advisors on developing the mindset of a champion financial advisor, so we can pack it all in, a whole day's worth of this, and they can leave armed with all kinds of tools.
Wow. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Just hop onto our site on our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. I'll see you next week.